We're on time this week. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Hello, creepy friends. Welcome to Slams and Bobs. I am a little weathered today. I've been out in Oxford Street to Lush to buy sale stuff because it was the only place that had reindeer rock several miles away. I wish I'd just gone there yesterday on New Year's Day. I should have just done that, but we're not here for that. Today we are here for Thunderbirds Argo's Chain of Command, which was on just this morning. I have just watched it on the television behind me. It did not cut off any minutes this morning, which was good. And I have to say, last week's episode was so slow. It went out like 2 days ago. I'm really sorry about the slowness of it. I think just with Christmas, I mean, literally the last 2 weeks have been hectic. Thank God I've got a week off work now. It was literally Christmas Eve when I was working, Christmas Day, Boxing Day, back to work, work, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, and now is a week off, so I'm kind of just gonna relax now. I just haven't really been able to think at all, so that was why it was delayed. I'm really sorry. Apparently all of you watched it anyway, which is wow. Thank you very much for doing that. Thank you for just wasting your time watching me make an ass of myself before you all and before the world. Who cares? So as I said, today's episode was Chain of Command, and compared to last week's, I'm gonna say fiasco. Quite a few people didn't like last week's episode. Last week's was just a bit of a nostalgia thing for me with shots of real hands that I missed, the teapot. It wasn't a great episode, it was just more about fun, so that's as far as that's going to stay for me. I really hope this lighting isn't terrible. I'm kind of hoping it's not too bad. I'm just trying to, it's dark, it's really dark. I rely on natural light, and I've kind of worked out if I have this down here and the natural light, it lights me properly. Without that, I'm kind of relying on the light and the light. So I'm really sorry. So the episode opens with three or four, I think it's just three, because I think it was either Alan or Gordon that goes down, and they're trying to save this bridge which has fallen. They're trying to stabilize it, and they're going to use this special phone that they have, and midway through it, Scott jumps out to rescue the pilot. He gets hit by something and it knocks out his jetpack. He begins to fall with the pilot. Cue intro, of course. I have to say, that bit of excitement was a really good opening scene. It just kind of went thup, 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 and I'm kind of going and just like jolting my little head every so often, and little facial expressions. It was definitely a really good kind of hook to go, come and watch this episode. So despite the best efforts of the GDF and IR, the bridge still falls, and no one can quite work out why that is. Unfortunately, it leads Colonel Janice to come along and overtake from Colonel Casey, saying that she is banned from duties while it's been investigated, which all seems a little bit strange, we have to say. It results, when everyone is back home and back on base, that International Rescue apparently now have to request permission from the GDF to deploy. There's one thing I have to say about that. I have to block it out because I know there'll be young children watching. But that's how it made me feel. Scott is venting about this to Lady Penelope because obviously her father can really go and have a chat with the GDF. When a distress call comes in, John says that something's going on, and John says he'll also deal with the asking of having to go, which is still rubbish. Penny says she's going to go and try and talk to Janice, and of course Scott's in the air and permission denied. Screw you, Janice. But we did get a glimpse of John. Yay! KO takes Brains out to the bridge to see exactly what went wrong, because Brains said anything can happen. It could well be the foam that had failed. It could be anything, but Scott just feels like something isn't right. So they're deployed to go and do that, while Scott comes back to IR, and thankfully John managed to get someone to go and help that disaster, because it was a sinking boat. He managed to deploy a little fishing boat that went and saved everyone. Thank you, boat. So in the meantime, Penelope goes to visit Janice, and something just doesn't feel quite right with Janice, just from the off. I mean, my initial thought it was the hood, but apparently it wasn't. Janice just seems to hate International Rescue, completely hate them. We don't know why that is, but Parker has a little chat with him, and it becomes apparent when they leave that Janice is a serious liar. He's not who he says he is. So again, we're thinking hood, but no, it's not the hood. When another situation comes and they're denied again, Scott just decides, we're going. It's a big sinkhole, there's construction workers, people are going to die, lives are in a lot of danger, and they're not going to hang around this time. And Virgil and Gordon and Alan all agree, and they all go together in Thunderbird 2 now. It's like a little family field trip. Yay! Little road trip. Yeah! Okay, sorry. Now, despite the fact that apparently the GDF are going to be there, when Scott and everyone arrives, they're nowhere. They're not there saving people like they said they'd be. Instead, GDF come along, encircle Thunderbird 2, and Scott obviously thinks, oh great, you're here, we don't have to be here, we can go back, sorry for the disruption. But Janice demands that they are grounded and they're under arrest, or they'll be shot down. Great. Grounded, they refuse to give themselves up. Scott is challenging the authority, which is getting high fives off Gordon and Alan, which is cute. Gordon and John, meanwhile, are still assessing the fact that the GDF just aren't helping the sinkhole situation. They're more concentrating on grounding Thunderbird 2, which we can't understand. But with the situation with the sinkhole worsening, Scott just goes, look, we can't wait. Gets Virgil to create something that whoops Janice away from Thunderbird 2. They're initially laser cutting through the door because a big... like, I can't think what it is, the totem pole thing. It's not a totem pole. When they try to barricade the door in, it didn't work. So he was trying to laser cut themselves in, and they were still going to refuse to go anyway. Scott says here that Jeff has taught them to respect authority, but there's a time and a place, and Janice is just creating situations, and he's going to end up making people lose their lives, and apparently that's more important. And this is where we start to think Janice wants Thunderbird too. He doesn't care about the boys. Obviously, they're just whatever. If they're dethroned, great. But he wants Thunderbird too, and that's not what the GDF should want. That's not kind of what's ever happened before. Just in time, after John was trying to get hold of Penelope for everybody else to save their skin, in she comes with Colonel Casey, who goes, you're not Janice, love. We're going to arrest you. And Casey eventually says, go on, off you go. Go and save lives. Thanks. See ya. En route again, it's big... Brains calls in and says that it's nothing to do with the foam that caused the bridge to collapse. It was, in fact, sabotage. Sabotage. Ooh, who sabotaged it? One guess. Yeah, it was Janice, that was right. And probably the Hood, but we'll get to him. At the sinkhole, Mole comes out. Mole, yes. And as does another pod, and they save everybody. Everybody goes home happy until the very end, where we see Casey talking to the fake Janice. And in from the side comes little Hoodie, who says, do you think there's any way you can hide if you're forgiven or whatever? It's setting up for the end. That's all we know. Janice is in detention. Casey's back in power. Thunderbirds are free to do whatever they want, whenever they want. Happy days, but we know it's leading somewhere. This was a really fun episode. It was really, really good to watch. Everybody was involved. Of course, I wanted John more involved. But it had everything that makes me enjoy an episode of this new series. Hey! I saw John in this episode after he wasn't in it last week. Am I liking John maybe just a little bit too much? Oops. Sorry. He reminds me of myself. He's a loner like me. Sorry. I think it was a matter of time before we had something like this where the Thunderbirds actually had to answer to someone for once. Scott says a line at the bridge that Thunderbirds don't answer to anyone and that's how they like it. Hey, that's how I like it, but it was a matter of time before something like this did happen. Obviously, in the end, it's resolved, and again, they just answer to themselves at the happiness of the GDF, but I guess it was a matter of time. However, the one word I had that kept rushing through my mind while watching this episode was frustrating. It was so annoying. Not in a bad way, in a way that we kept seeing them get grounded and there's all these situations and all this bad rescue needing things going on and they keep getting grounded and just go and rescue people. This is what this is for. This is what this whole thing is about. And I got annoyed. But it's not a bad way. It was frustrating for me, as I think it would be for the people, actually, the real life characters. I can only imagine how Scott felt. He was really, you know, blowing his steam in this. I could just feel the steam coming out of his ears here. I really, really could. It was how I felt. When they're rescuing the sinkhole workers, there's just a moment where the actor's voice for Scott just slips, and just for a second he sounded like Lloyd Grossman, just for this odd second. This reminded me, and I don't know whether it's kind of a tribute to it, if you remember the episode The Imposters, where the fake group came along and said they were international rescue but weren't in the original series, this reminded me a lot of this episode because of the imposter and because of the way that it was. It just had that little tingle of it to me. I have to wiki that and see if it was based on the imposters. Overall, I think every brother was included in this. That was what made me enjoy it. KO was in it, Brains was in it. As we know now, we have, I think two or three episodes left of this series. This is now all leading to the big finale. I'm assuming it's where we find out that KO is responsible for Jess being missing. All in all, great episode compared to last week. Did you enjoy it too? Did you like it too? I think I've rabbited a little bit on this one. I'm really determined to get this out as soon as possible. I feel so bad that last week I made you all wait. Thank you very much for watching me and watching this lovely little review of this Thunderbirds episode. I hope this lighting isn't terrible. I've got a feeling my face is just pure white at the minute because of this light. All I can see when I blink are just flashes and I'm getting a headache. But hey ho, if it makes this work, great. If you would like to subscribe, please do. If you would like to follow Instagram or Twitter, please do. I'm getting much better with Twitter now. I have to say I'm quite glad that I'm much better with Twitter now. Weird noise. I'll see everyone again next week. Bye.